Well, feeding birds can be a tremendous source of enjoyment for all of us. However, if you take it upon yourself to feed birds, there is a responsibility that comes with that. Well, just as we might not want to eat at a restaurant that didn't pass a health inspection, the birds may not want to dine at your bird feeders if they're not kept clean. Actually, there are many things that you can do when you're feeding birds to help make their feeding environment safe. And the first thing to do is to actually put out several bird feeders. If you put out just one bird feeder, many birds are at that feeder and they're crowded, they're very close together. This makes them nervous, and it also is a way that disease can spread rapidly between birds. So put more than one bird feeder out, and if you see that there's pressure at a bird feeder, put another one out close by. The next thing that you can do is keep the area underneath the bird feeder clean from debris. Every time you fill the bird feeder with more seed, you should clean up bird droppings and food from beneath the feeder. Now this can be accomplished with a broom and a shovel, or even better, if you have a shop vac, you can vacuum that area, and that will get that old food and also bird droppings out of the way. The other thing that you should do fairly often is clean and disinfect your bird feeders, and that's what I'm doing right now. Now, one of the reasons to do this is because a lot of the diseases that are spread between birds can be spread at the bird feeder from contact between the birds and also contact of birds with parts of the bird feeder. Now, if you have a bird feeder such as a tube feeder like this, and you'll notice it's got these portals here. As a bird feeds, its eye might touch this portal, and then that area might not dry by the time the next bird comes to feed, and a disease could be passed along in this way. So disassemble your feeder and clean these portals well, and also disinfect them. Now, one of the diseases that is fairly new affects house finches, and house finches are birds that are common at our bird feeders. And what this disease does is cause the house finches to go blind, and it's called mycoplasmal conjunctivitis. Now, this disease won't affect humans, however, it can spread fairly rapidly among the house finches, and so hygiene is very important. Now, they're not quite sure how this disease spreads, but all of these hygiene tips will help cut down on all diseases that might spread among feeding birds. Now, as you're cleaning your bird feeder, you also want to check it and make sure that there aren't areas on it that need to be repaired. Now, you want to check and make sure that there aren't sharp edges. Like on here, we've got some splinters coming out, and probably we should just replace this whole piece of wood. And if your bird feeder is in bad repair, replace the entire bird feeder. Also up here, you'll notice that we've got some places where we need to nail the nails back in. Now, basically, you just want to make sure and get rid of any places that birds could become scratched or nicked that would lead to infection later. And this is just another step in keeping your feeding birds healthy. Now, after you've washed your bird feeder in a detergent solution, you need to disinfect it and basically use a 10% bleach solution, which is 1 part bleach to 9 parts water, and place the bird feeder in that solution for 5 to 10 minutes. Just let it soak. And then after you've done that, you can take it out and place it in an area where it will thoroughly air dry. Now, if your bird feeder is too large to dunk in a bleach solution, you can actually make up a bleach solution, 10%, in a spray bottle, and thoroughly spray that bird feeder with that solution. Now, one thing you want to remember is to make this up fresh every time you disinfect, because after 24 hours, this loses its ability to disinfect. And so you want to make that up fresh every time you clean. Also, the frequency of cleaning bird feeders varies with whether or not you've noticed sick birds at your feeder. Well, a good rule of thumb is to clean your feeder once to twice a month, unless you've seen diseased birds, and then you need to thoroughly clean and disinfect your bird feeder once a week. You also need to store your bird seed in a clean, dry place that's away from mice, because mice can actually spread diseases to birds without becoming affected themselves. You'll also want to make sure that if your bird feed becomes wet, smells musty, or has a fungus growing on it, you'll want to discard it and then thoroughly clean and disinfect the container before filling it with new bird feed.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.